Welcome to Dyspraxic Rosie Writes, a channel where we talk about dyspraxia, chronic illness, and the writing life. In today's video, I'm going to tell you all about something I am genuinely really excited about that I've been working on for the last little while, but the details haven't been really finalized enough for me to feel like I can start talking to you about that. But now that they are much more so and the webpage has gone live, it is definitely time, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And that is my second book, Studying with Dyspraxia, a Bloomsbury project. With Studying with Dyspraxia, by far the most crucial detail to me that probably won't make it to any of the marketing copy, but has a great deal of emotional significance in terms of how it came to be, is that of the timing. It came to be, and I was approached about this project through Helen, who is an editor in the study skills department, the department in which distributes resources designed for university students to support their success in their university studies. What made the timing so important for me was that I was just recovering from thyroid surgery. I had just had a very significant health scare shortly before where they found what's called a thyroid goiter, meaning that there was all these tiny, gross little nodules, which were precancerous. And luckily they found it just in the nick of time. And I got the surgery for it, meaning that all of a sudden my body was no longer having one functional organ. And there was a whole new medication to adjust to. So it really messed me up for a while. And it was really exhausting at first, the recovery. And it was really hard to do much really meaningful creative work. Like, it took a really, really long time before I felt like I could just sit down and write, which was really hard for me because, of course, so much of my work over the last little while has been writing. And I really, really love my writing. And it's really something I've worked really hard to train myself in. And that was really hard. I mean, I was lucky to have a very supportive husband and a very supportive family. And finally, as I was starting to get better, Helen approached me and she said, "I really liked your first book." And she said, "Oh, well, do you want to write something on studying at university and that can help out dyspraxic students?" And I love the idea of that. I mean, I went to university, but I found the environment really overwhelming. I felt like early on in the process, I mean, even though I was really good at what I was there to study, I found it very, very tough navigating that while happening to be not only neurodivergent, but having a form of neurodivergence that wasn't really that well known about. So a lot of the faculty wasn't that well equipped to be all that supportive, really. And I saw that as a great opportunity, even though this wasn't a project where, like my first book, I wrote it first and then approached someone. It was the other way around. I saw it as a great opportunity to support students in similar positions. I tune into a lot of the social media groups around dyspraxia, and I see this as a question that comes up so much of the time. And there's so little out there at the moment. As I said in my video where I went over some dyspraxia resources, there has definitely been a recent growth in books by dyspraxics, but there isn't really specifically anything that taps into the concerns of the community itself. I mean, there's definitely been some great books that have focused on more of the technicalities of studying throughout different levels of school. But I felt that they didn't take into consideration enough the realities of student life. And they didn't take into considerations factors like affordability and the challenges of disclosing when you don't feel comfortable disclosing yet and things like that. With this project, I really pushed myself to not just include my story, which if you want to see more my story and journey with dyspraxia, my first book is very much what gets that out of the way. But with this one, I wanted to do something like completely different in order to do the project justice. Because, well, obviously I'm not a lecturer. Obviously I'm not some PhD student, but I did go to university. And although that offers a degree of authenticity, I wanted more. So I talked to a lot of different faculty members at university. I talked to people who had attended university in the past or present that were dyspraxic themselves. And I read so many different neurodivergent and dyspraxic lensed books and studies and things like that in order to try and familiarize myself with the realities of what it's like to go to university right now. But you're probably wondering why I was so interested in focusing on university in particular. I mean, I get it. Obviously, we don't have to, nor do we all need to go to university, nor can we all go to university. But it is very much within a lot of cultures right now seen as a means of, obviously people want to use it as a way to get into higher paid fields and get better opportunities. And it is very much a starting point. And for people with dyspraxia and neurodivergent people specifically, it offers options because unfortunately, my experience has been that a lot of entry-level jobs that people often do when they're students, beyond being a student as well, are often a lot harder to navigate when you're disabled or neurodivergent. And really, like, obviously that's very much what makes it an attractive option for people. And I mean, obviously, there's people who are in it because they just have a really niche interest. But I am very aware of the fact that it's a starting point and it for better opportunities. And I wanted to make sure that my dyspraxic peers weren't excluded from that as an option. Studying with dyspraxia, as the name implies, is all about navigating university as a dyspraxic student. That is very much who this book is for. It is for people who have suspected and formal diagnoses alike, who are really wondering how to navigate the process of university life, whether that be support or working with peers or doing a class presentation that feels particularly intimidating, or even what comes after, or learning to be better organized and more on top of things despite your dyspraxia in terms of juggling everything that comes with student life too, whether that be your next deadline, your next exam, figuring out how to request access to support whenever it is available, how to go and get a diagnosis, how to make sure that you have access to all the right paperwork in order to get access to the support you need, what sorts of support other students benefit from. So in my opinion, this is very much a book for parents of students who are dyspraxic and neurodivergent, but I put more of the focus and emphasis on students themselves and talking to them as a peer and someone who has gone through a mutual experience. When I first sent out the proposal for my book to my publisher, which was part of the process despite the fact that I was approached first about whether or not I wanted to do the project, I openly polled some of the dyspraxia community on social media And the revealing thing I found is a surprising amount of people who had navigated the university experience had never read a study skills guide before. And that makes complete sense to me. So I hope to make this very much something that feels very current and now, but also has a number of tips that are very practical and useful and can be applied as soon as completely possible. I hope you found this video interesting. Despite it being very overtly promotional today. But it's something I'm very excited about. And as someone who really has found a calling and an interest in supporting this community as much as I can, I just wanted to tell you about it just because I'm very excited to share it with the general public when it comes out. The estimated date when it's coming out is early July 2026, and it will be available through Bloomsbury Books, and I will link to it in the description. Hope you enjoyed this video. Happy reading, happy writing, my friends. Like and subscribe.